Hello there, my dear friend. I'm so glad you stopped by. Today's story is a soft, cozy tale for hearts of every size and age, a gentle reminder of the magic that comes from telling the truth, even when it feels small. So settle in, maybe with a cup of something warm, and let's take a walk together into a peaceful little world where honesty blooms like wildflowers. At the far end of a quiet valley, where the grass rolled like waves and the sky always smelled like rain, there was a village named Littledale. The houses were built low and wide, with flowering vines that curled up their stone walls. Wind chimes sang from every porch, and no one locked their doors. Not because they weren't careful, but because they trusted one another. In a small brown cottage near the edge of the woods lived a boy named Milo. He was 10 years old, with hair the color of late autumn leaves and freckles like sunspots across his nose. Milo loved stories, fireflies, and the feeling of walking barefoot through warm grass. But Milo had a little habit, one that sometimes got him into trouble, even though he didn't mean it to. He told small lies, not big ones, just little fibs, like saying he'd finished his chores when he hadn't, or that he hadn't eaten the last cookie when he definitely had. He didn't do it to be mean. Sometimes it just felt easier than explaining, or admitting he'd forgotten, or didn't want to disappoint someone. His grandmother, Nani, lived with him. She had long silver hair always twisted into a braid and wore knitted shawls no matter the weather. Nani always seemed to know when Milo wasn't telling the truth, but she never scolded him. Instead, one sunny morning, she handed him a small silver key. "This," she said, "is for the Whispering Gate." Milo blinked. "What's that?" "A place in the forest," she smiled, "where only the truth can open the way. No one knows what lies beyond, but those who've gone through say they return changed." Milo clutched the key, unsure whether this was a story or a lesson. Nani simply patted his shoulder. "You'll know when it's time." That afternoon, Milo wandered toward the woods. He followed a path lined with ferns and soft moss, until he found a gate hidden behind flowering branches, old, wooden, and carved with tiny swirling letters. He slipped the key into the lock. Nothing happened. A soft breeze stirred the leaves. Somewhere, a bird called. Milo frowned. "I'm Milo," he said aloud, hesitating, then added quietly, "I didn't sweep the porch like I told Nani I did." The gate creaked. Startled, he blinked. "And I also broke the handle on her teacup last week and hid it under the sink." The gate slowly opened with a soft sigh, as if it had been waiting. Behind it stretched a quiet glade bathed in golden light. And in that moment, Milo realized something strange and wonderful. Telling the truth had just opened a door he didn't know existed. The moment Milo stepped through the Whispering Gate, the world felt different, not louder, not brighter, just clearer. The trees stood tall and still, their leaves rustling in slow waves, as if they were listening. The air smelled like rain-soaked bark and warm bread. A path of smooth, round stones wound gently through the glade. Milo followed it. He didn't feel afraid, only a little nervous, like stepping into a dream he wasn't sure he'd earned. The birds didn't scatter when he passed. The breeze didn't rush. Everything moved with a quiet, careful rhythm. He could hear his own heartbeat, and somehow, it calmed him. As he walked, he noticed little wooden signs staked into the earth beside the path. They weren't directions, just words. The first one read, "Truth is the beginning of trust." Farther on, another said, "Small lies grow like weeds, but truth grows roots." He didn't fully understand them yet, but something about them felt kind, not scolding, just true. At the end of the path, he came upon a garden unlike any he'd seen, not rows of vegetables or tidy flower beds, but wild, blooming colors growing freely. Daisies with golden faces, bluebells shaped like tiny hats, and glowing mushrooms tucked under mossy logs. In the center stood a stone fountain. The water bubbled softly, and above it floated a small lantern made of glass and silver. The light inside pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. He stepped closer. "Milo," said a voice. He turned. An old woman stood near the fountain. She had wrinkled skin, wise eyes, and a cloak made of leaves. Her voice sounded like wind through chimes. "You opened the gate," she said. "I think so," Milo said shyly. "Because I told the truth." The woman nodded. "This is the garden of honest things. It appears only to those who dare to speak honestly, not just to others, but to themselves." Milo's cheeks warmed. "I've told a lot of small lies." "We all do," she said gently. "But truth invites light. Even the tiniest bit can show you the way." She handed him a small pouch made of velvet moss. "Inside, you'll find a gift for each truth you speak, not rewards, but reminders. Keep them close." Milo looked inside and saw 3 tiny stones, each smooth and warm. "What are they for?" he asked. "One is for the truth you told about the porch, one for the broken teacup, and one," she smiled, "for coming here." The fountain shimmered. A beam of light rose from the center and formed a path of sparkles leading out of the garden. "Now go," the woman said kindly. "Live truthfully, gently, and well. And when you're ready, return." As Milo turned back toward the path, the garden faded not completely, but like a dream tucked behind his eyes, waiting. Back home, Nani was waiting on the porch. She didn't ask where he'd been. Instead, she held out her hand, and Milo quietly placed the smooth stones in her palm. "I think I understand," he whispered. And Nani simply smiled, pulling him into a warm hug that smelled of wool, cinnamon, and something very much like pride. The next morning, the sky over Littledale was full of soft clouds, the kind that promised a slow day. Birds perched on the roof's edge. Somewhere nearby, a kettle whistled faintly. Milo sat on the windowsill, one knee pulled to his chest, the pouch of velvet moss resting beside him. He gently rolled one of the smooth stones between his fingers. It still held a faint warmth. He hadn't told any lies that day. In fact, he hadn't needed to. But the truth had started whispering to him in other ways, not the spoken kind, but the quieter truth, the kind you tell yourself when no one's around. He heard it that afternoon when his friend Lila came by. She had 2 braids and a satchel full of colored chalk. "Want to draw with me by the bridge?" she asked. Milo hesitated. He liked drawing, but his heart felt full of something else today, thoughts too soft and strange to explain. "Maybe tomorrow?" he said gently. "I think I need a quiet day." Lila tilted her head, surprised. "Are you okay?" He nodded. "I think so. I just want to be honest with how I'm feeling." She smiled, not hurt at all. "Okay, I'll save you the blue chalk." After she left, Milo wandered into the garden. Nani was picking herbs, humming softly. He sat beside her, plucking a few mint leaves and crushing them between his fingers. The scent reminded him of warm tea and rainy evenings. "Nani," he asked, "do you ever lie?" She looked up, surprised not because of the question, but because of the way he asked it. "I have," she said, "but not often, and never on purpose." "Is it ever okay?" She set her basket down and wiped her hands on her apron. "Sometimes we think we lie to protect others, but most of the time, we lie to protect ourselves from embarrassment, from trouble, from being seen." Milo nodded. That made sense. He thought of how he used to fib to avoid admitting small mistakes, or how hard it had felt to say how he really felt. "But truth," she said softly, "makes room for understanding. It invites people closer." That evening, the wind picked up. Storm clouds gathered at the edge of the valley. Chickens clucked nervously and curtains swayed in open windows. Just before supper, Nani noticed the gate to the hen coop was unlatched. "Milo?" she asked gently. He blinked. Oh, he remembered now. He had gone in to check for eggs earlier, and forgotten to latch it again. "I meant to close it," he said, voice small. "I know," Nani said, not angry, only calm. "Thank you for telling me." Together they walked out in the drizzle to latch the gate properly. It took only a minute, but the relief in Milo's chest lasted much longer. Later that night, back in bed, Milo tucked the 3rd stone into the pouch. He hadn't told a lie, even when it would have been easy. That, he thought, might be the bravest kind of truth. The pouch pulsed faintly in the moonlight, like a lantern of his own making. A few days passed, and Littledale settled into early spring. The cherry trees stretched their limbs with soft pink blossoms, and bees lazily drifted through the meadows. Milo spent more time outside now, not running, not rushing, just being. Something inside him had shifted, like a door left gently ajar. He kept the pouch of velvet moss in his pocket wherever he went. He didn't need to look at it often, just knowing it was there reminded him to pause, breathe, and speak with care. One morning, while watering the daisies near the porch, Nani called softly from behind him. "There's something waiting for you at the gate." Milo turned. "The whispering gate?" She nodded. He didn't ask how she knew. Some things, he was learning, didn't need explanations, just trust. He followed the same mossy path as before, but this time, it felt different, not mysterious, but familiar. The trees waved gently, and the ferns bowed as he passed. When he reached the gate, it stood open just a little, as if it had remembered him. Milo stepped through and found the garden waiting, blooming brighter than before. The daisies seemed taller. The light around the fountain glowed like sunlight caught in a jar. The old woman was there again, tending a row of tiny golden flowers. "You've returned," she said, smiling. Milo nodded. I haven't told a lie since I was last here." "Even the small ones?" she asked. He smiled sheepishly. "Especially those." She walked over and placed something in his hand, a final stone, smoother than the rest. But this one shimmered faintly, like starlight. "For the truth you tell when no one else is watching," she said. Milo held the stone and closed his eyes. He remembered Lila's understanding smile, Nani's gentle patience, the moment he told the truth about the hen coop and the way it made him feel free, not afraid. When he opened his eyes, the woman was gone. But beside the fountain, where her hands had been, now grew a single silver flower, bright and still, shining gently in the golden light. He tucked the shimmering stone into the pouch. It was full now, 5 stones, 5 truths, not prizes, but promises. He walked home slowly, the weight in his pocket a quiet reminder of who he was becoming. Back in the village, everything looked the same. The cobbled roads, the swinging shop signs, the blue doors and blooming windowsills, and yet everything felt more alive, because he was seeing it clearly. He found Nani in the garden, humming softly, tying mint into bundles. Without a word, he held out the pouch to her. She took it, opened it gently, and looked at each stone. Then she tied the pouch to a string and hung it on the porch beam, where it swayed softly in the breeze like a charm. From then on, anyone who passed their cottage could see it, a quiet little pouch filled with honesty, lit by sun and memory.